Guys, here we are for workout session number 2, and again we're going to go through a warm-up, a specific warm-up, strength and power exercises, core and stability, speed and agility, cardio, and then finish with a cool down. So here we go, we're going to begin our warm-up. We're going to run in place for 20 seconds. So have your timers ready. Okay, remember, get your timers ready. And today's warm-up, and all exercises are just strictly body weight exercises, so we have no need for actual equipment or anything around the house, just an area for you to work in and your own self. So here we go, 20 seconds for running in place to start our warm-up. And here we go. And that's 20 seconds. Now we're gonna wait another 20 seconds before we start our next warm-up, which is going to be jumping jacks for 20 seconds. So take a rest for 20 seconds, and we're back on for 20 seconds. Okay, now we have jumping jacks for 20 seconds. So every timer's ready, and here we go. And that's 20 seconds. Ready? Now we're gonna go into our trunk rotations for 20 seconds. Have our timers ready, and here we go. And that's 20 seconds. Okay, now we're going to go into our specific warm-up to help us get prepared for the actual exercises that we're going to perform. And to begin with, we're going to have arm rotations. We're going to have them going 20 full reps, which is 10 to the front and 10 to the back. Our arms are shoulder height. And here we go, begin. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to do that another round just to get our shoulders, triceps, and chest opened up. And so we're going to rest about 30 seconds and then come back and do 20 more. Here we go for round 2 of the arm rotations. And it's 10 to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to rest about 30 seconds, and then we're going to get into our next warm-up. Now we're going to go into our hip openers. This one is going to be for time. We're going to do a total of 60 seconds and 30 seconds each side of the hip. And so here we again, put our clock ready. So for the first side of the hip, all we're gonna do is get in like a lunging motion, have our leg behind us, have our arms overhead, and we're just gonna push forward and back and push forward and back for 30 seconds with that hip driving in front of us. We're gonna do that for 30 seconds and then switch to the other leg. So here we go, 30 seconds, and begin. In this 30 seconds, we're gonna restart and go with our other leg. And 30 seconds, and here we go. And that's 30 seconds. And we're gonna rest for about 60 seconds and then go into our last warm-up, which would be our hamstring stretches. So for our last dynamic warm-up, we're gonna do hamstring stretches. Now what we're gonna do is set 1 foot ahead of us, 1 foot behind, staggered. We're gonna bend at the knee and the back leg. We're gonna reach forward, have our toe pointed to the sky. We're gonna bring our arms and swing slowly up, bring it back down, and go in that motion. And we're gonna go off and on between both legs. We're gonna go for 30 seconds just to really get our hamstrings warmed and lengthened, ready for contraction in our exercises. So here we go, 30 seconds on the clock, and we begin. So that's 30 seconds. And remember guys, that stretching and warming up is important to get our muscles nice and lengthened and loose before we start contracting them doing our actual physical exercises. So we're gonna take 90 seconds rest before we start our actual strength and power exercises. Alright, so now we're going into our strength and power exercises. We're going to begin with a modified push-up, which is a wall push-up. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a flat surface, a wall. You're going to have your hands shoulder width apart, chest level. We're going to have our feet back. And we're just going to go in a pushing motion and come back. So we're going to bend at the elbows, and we're going to push back and lock our elbows at the top, contracting our chest. So here we go, we're going to have 3 sets of 10. This is the first set, and we begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the first set. Remember the whole time, keep your core engaged, keep everything tight, and go in a nice fluid motion. Rest 90 seconds between. Now we're going to rest 90 seconds between sets. So here we go. The rest starts now. Okay, set number 2. Here we go. Set of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Second set, we have one more set. 90 seconds rest begins. Now here's our last set of our wall push-ups. Last set of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that completes our first strength exercise. We're going to take 90 seconds rest, and we're going to go into our second exercise, which is going to be a reverse lunge. So here we go for our second strength exercise. We're going to perform a reverse lunge. So we're going to be standing in an upright position. We're going to set one leg back, and we're going to have our front leg bent at the knee. We're going to push back. We're going to push back forward, and that's 1. We're gonna go back again, come back up, that's 2. And we're gonna do 3 sets of 12, but we're gonna do 6 each leg. You could do them together, or you could do one leg at a time. So for this first set, I'll do one leg at a time. So here we go, first set of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That completes our first set of 12. We have 2 more sets, and we're going to take a 90-second rest. Alright, so now we're performing set number 2, and now I'm going to alternate legs. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That completes our second set. We have 1 more set. Now we have a 90 seconds rest. Here we go. We're going to do our last set of 12 of the reverse lunges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Remember, this exercise is based on knee flexion. We're working out our glutes, hamstrings, and quadriceps. So that completes our set of 3 of reverse lunges. Now we're going to take a 90 seconds rest before we go into our next exercise. So for our next strength exercise, we're going to do a floor Y. So we're going to lay flat on our stomach on the ground. We're going to have our hands over top of us, straight up. And they're going to be flat, palms down, and we're going to flex them up at the deltoids, and we're going to supinate our hands into like a neutral position. And we're going to do 3 sets of 12. So it looks a little like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's working our shoulder mobility and strength. And that's the first set of 12. We have 2 more sets. Now we're going to take a 90 seconds rest. Here we go. We're ready for set number 2. Laying flat. Arms spread ahead of us. Palms flat. And we lift our depth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Set number 2, we have 1 more set, and now we're going to rest for 90 seconds. Okay, here we go. We're doing a last set of floor Ys. And remember, when you're flat on the ground, you want your face and neck facing down, neutral, not lifting it up, because that's potential injury to your neck. So you want everything in a straight line and flat, except when your shoulders come up. So here we go for the last set of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That completes our set of floor Ys. Now we're going to rest for 90 seconds and go into our next exercise. So for our next exercise, we're going to do a modified squat jump. So on a regular squat jump, we bend in a half squat, we bring our arms and we leave the ground and we catch ourselves in another half squat. But instead, we're not going to leave the ground because we're going to limit the stress on our joints. So we're going to get in our half squat, bring our arms, we're shooting our arms up, And once we're coming up, extending at the knee, we're gonna catch ourselves on our tippy toes, bring and catch ourselves back down in a half squat. We're gonna perform 3 sets of 5 of those. Here's set number 1. So remember, feet flat on the ground, shoulder width apart on the feet. We're coming down into a half squat, bringing our arms and shooting up, catching ourselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh shit, I went too fast. Oh. Cut that. Whoa. Alright, now we're going to perform a modified squat jump. So instead of a regular squat jump where our feet are leaving the ground, we're going to go through the whole motion of a squat jump. Half squat, we're getting out of the squat, reaching into the air, and instead of coming off, our toes stay on the ground, but we're extending our toes, which is flexing our calf muscles, catching ourselves at the top, and then we catch ourselves back into the half squat. So we're going to do 3 sets of those. It's going to be 5 each set. So here's set number 1. Remember, feet shoulder width apart. We get in a half squat, and we begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Catch ourselves. That's the first set. Now we're going to take a 90 seconds rest. So we have our timers. We put 90 seconds and then we rest. So for this exercise, so we're taking away the jump out of the squat jump, which is why it's modified. And the reason we're doing that is because we don't want to leave the ground and then catch ourselves, and then we're putting more pressure on our knees and our ankles. So when we're going up and we're just flexing our calves at the top, and we're working balance, we're working stability, we're working strength, all in one, and we're taking away that pressure on the joints in our knees. So we have 45 seconds left to rest. Remember, if you are working outside, to have lots of water nearby, because it is hot out here, and maybe even a towel if you get too sweaty. Remember, through these working sets, they don't have to be as quick as possible. You want to have them controlled, and just make sure that you're going through the movement correctly, so you're getting the full effect, and then you're not risking injury on yourself, because some of these things can be dangerous if you do them too fast. So about 5 seconds. Now let's get into our positions for set number 2 of the modified squat jumps. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's 5. Now we take our 90 seconds again before we start our last set of these 5 modified squat jumps. So remember, at the top, when you're catching yourselves, you're holding on your toes and you're flexing your calves. Shoot your hips forward as well, and you squeeze your glutes, creating that whole power movement of the lower body that you need when you do actually jump. It comes from all of those bases. It comes from your quads, it comes from your hamstrings, it comes from your hip drive, it comes from your glutes, and it comes from your calves. So we're working all of those components in this exercise. So if you were ever to need to jump and actually leave the ground, you're building all those muscular components where you're able to do that, and you won't hurt yourself because you're used to doing it. You're used to making those movements and working those muscles. About 30 seconds out. We have one last set of these, and then we're going to go to our next movement. So 15 seconds, so get yourselves ready. Have yourselves in the proper position. 5, and begin with our last set of the modified squat jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, that finishes our modified squat jumps. We're going to take a 90-second rest, and then we're going to move into hip bridges, which is our next movement for this part of our exercises. So let's take 90 seconds. And rest. Get some water. Relax, breathe. And so for our hip bridges, what we're going to do, we're going to be laying flat on the ground, like so. Knees bent, hands on your sides, pronated, flat on the ground, head down, neck back. And all we're going to do is lift our hips into the air and squeeze in our glutes at the top. And we hold, and then we come back down and control it all the way down. And we're going to repeat that for 10 reps. We're going to do 3 sets of that. So just to have you guys ready while we're still resting. Do about 30 seconds. We're going to begin our first set of our hip bridges. Remember, we're flat on the ground, laying on our back, palms flat on the ground to your sides, and we drive our hips up, squeezing our glutes at the top, holding our core tight. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Controlled on the way down. Well, we're resting for 90 seconds. We have 2 more sets of these. And so the goal for these hip bridges is we're really working the posterior part of our lower body, which is major muscles like hamstrings and glutes, which builds, that's where all of our majority of our power comes from for our lower body. So when we're working those muscles, remember we're keeping the core tight every time that we're flexing and coming up and holding our bridge at the top. And then on the way we're controlling ourselves down, still having our core tight and not loosening our contractions of our muscles. So we're about 30 seconds out before we start set number 2. So remember, you could do these anywhere. I'm in my backyard, but you could do them inside, outside, anywhere on a flat surface where you're comfortable. And it's an easy and great exercise to really work strength and power in your lower body. So we're about 5 seconds away. So let's get ready for set number 2. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Set number 2. But 1 more set. For now, we're going to our 90-second rest. Hopefully you guys following along are really feeling the benefits of these exercises. Again, they're just They're just simple everyday exercises that you can do anywhere. All you need is just yourself in an open area, and you're able to accomplish any of these exercises without equipment. And you're still gonna gain strength and power, and you're gonna burn calories, all without having extra weights. Can they be performed with weights? Yes, of course. It's just as beneficial, even more beneficial, because you'll able to add some resistance. But at the moment, we don't have that, and that's okay, because we're still able to exercise and keep ourselves fit and strong. Especially in these times, you need to stay active, you need to stay healthy, you need to have your lungs expanded all the time, deep breathing, and it just helps you get away when you're stuck inside. Really helps on your mental aspect of your body. So here we go for our last set of hip bridges. We begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That concludes our hip bridges exercise. Now we're gonna rest. We're gonna jump into our next exercise, which is going to be walking lunges. So for walking lunges, again, you just need an open area. It could be a backyard, it could be a hallway, it could be a living room, anywhere where you're able to take a few steps back and forth, and you'll still get the benefits of all the benefits of this exercise. So what you're gonna do is open space. You're gonna drop down into your lunge position, but instead of shooting back up, we're moving continually forward. Next leg after the next leg. We're alternating legs, so it's gonna look something like this. We're gonna do that progressively throughout this yard, or if you're in a hallway or wherever you are. And we're gonna do 10 steps each leg, so a total of 20 steps. About 30 seconds away. And so for our walking lunge, it not only helps with our strength and power, but also our mobility and our balance. Because again, we're in a walking motion as we're lunging and going into a strength movement. But we continue forward instead of coming up and reestablishing and then going again. So with that said, we're gonna go into our walking lunges. This is the first set of 3. And remember, it's 10 steps each leg, so a total of 20 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's walking lunges. Now we're going to take our 90 seconds rest. Remember, we have 2 more sets of this, and it is 10 steps each leg, so a total of 20 steps. If you need to do less, you can do less. But if you're able to, I would recommend the total of 20 steps. So these walking lunges are very beneficial. Like I said before, we're not only working strength, we're working balance, we're working mobility, we're using all our different lower body muscle groups, we're using our quads, our hamstrings, our glutes, our hips, even our calves to help us with our ankle stability when we're down and we're coming back up and we're moving forward. So I would recommend this movement to anybody who's able and willing to do this. It's not a bad exercise, and it's also pretty simple. Alright, here we go for the next set of these walking lunges. Remember, 10 steps each leg, 20 steps total. And we begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's set number 2, 20 total steps. So remember, now we have our 90 seconds rest. So remember, for this exercise, you can modify it to make it less difficult, which is take less steps, or even stop at the top or at the bottom if you need to before taking your next step forward, instead of doing it continuously. Or you can make it more difficult by, obviously, you could add weight. Like in a household situation, you could hold jugs of milk or water, or let's say little things around your house, just to add the extra weight if you think that you need it. Or even just hold your hands over your head while you're taking your steps. It's engaging more of the core and a balance aspect to it. So that's what makes this exercise that great and important, because you could add extra things to it to make it even more difficult, where you're not just working your lower body, but you're working your core, you're working your balance, you're working bits of agility. And with that being said, we probably have around 10 seconds left before we start our next set of these walking lunges. And so get ready, get in your position, and we'll begin. For set 2 of our walking lunges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. That concludes set 2. We're going to take a 90-second rest and finish with our third set. So now we're going to complete set number 3 of our walking lunges, and this is going to conclude our strength and power portion of this exercise prescription. So let's hit it and get our last set of walking lunges. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That concludes our walking lunges, and that concludes our power and strength portion of this exercise. Now we're going to take 90 seconds rest and go into our next part of our exercise program. Okay, for now, we're going to start a portion of cardio. We're going to do 30 seconds of seal jacks. So all it is, it's a modified jumping jack. It just widens your chest and shoulders and stretches your body widthwise. But at the same time, we're spreading our legs with our arms, and then we're coming back to the middle to meet and spreading out again continuously in a jumping motion. So it's a full body weight exercise, gets our heart rate up, and it keeps the sweat going. So here we go. Let's get our clocks ready. We got 30 seconds. And begin. That's 30 seconds. Now we're gonna take a 70-second rest, and then we're gonna go into our core exercises. So we did cardio like that because we're just gonna do it in spurts. So instead of just going straight into different exercises, we could just get our heart rising and get ourselves nice and heated before we jump straight into the next exercise. So now we're going to start core, and for our first core exercise, we're going to do shoulder taps, which is you're going to be in a push-up position, arms locked, and it's like a lifted plank, but instead of staying in one position, we're going to reach one arm to the opposite shoulder, put it down, and the other arm to the next shoulder, put it down, and we're going to do that for 20 reps. We're going to touch our shoulder 10 times each side. So here you go for set number 1 of our shoulder taps. Remember to keep our core engaged, nice and tight, and here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That shoulder taps, we're going to have 2 more sets of that. Now we're going to take a 90 seconds rest. Here we go, set number 2 of shoulder taps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That completes our second set. We have 1 more set of shoulder taps. Now 90 seconds rest. For our last set of shoulder taps, remember this is a core exercise. So when we're holding ourselves up and then we're lifting our hands to our shoulders, we're keeping our core nice and tight. We want it in, not poking out. And when we're lifting our arm to our shoulder, we're transferring weight onto one side of the oblique. We're centering it again, switching weight to our other side of the oblique, which is really working out our full core and really stabilizing the center mass of our bodies. So here we go for the last set of shoulder taps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That concludes shoulder taps. Now we take a 90 seconds rest into our next core exercise. For our next core exercise, we're moving into 6-inch leg lifts. So we're going to be laying flat on the ground, hands to our side. We're going to lift our legs off the ground for 6 inches, and we're going to hold it there for 20 seconds. We're going to do 3 sets of this. Remember, this exercise is core stability. So when you're lifting your legs off the ground and you're holding them, you want to really squeeze your abs, push them back into your body. You want to squeeze your glutes under you to have that stability on the ground, and you want to keep all the pressure on your lower abdominals and your hips. So here we go for set number 1, 20 seconds. Have your clock ready. And we begin. 20 seconds. Now we're gonna rest for 60 seconds and then get back at it. All right, here we go. Round number 2 of our 6-inch leg lifts. So remember, when you're doing this and you're holding your abs nice and tight, don't forget to breathe. Breathing leads to oxygen, and oxygen is energy, and you need that to increase the strength of your muscles. So with that said, let's go into set number 2. Have your clock ready, and we go. That concludes set number 2. Now time for our 60 to 70 second rest before we finish our last set of 6-inch leg lifts. So here we go. Last set of 6-inch leg lifts. And we have 20 seconds on our clock. And we begin. That's 20 seconds. And remember, before we move into our next and final core exercise, to stretch out those abs. Get like a baby seal, lay flat on your stomach, hands next to your chest, and you push up, reaching towards the sky, really separating those abs. Stretch for about 30 seconds. Then we rest and do our next core exercise. So for our next and final core exercise, again, we're going to be on the ground and we're going to do bicycle crunches. So, I'm going to lay flat on the ground. We're going to have our legs bent off the ground. We're going to have our scapula off the ground. We're going to have our hands behind our head. And we're going to pedal like we're riding a bicycle. Opposite leg, opposite elbow. Opposite leg, opposite elbow. We're going to keep our core nice and squeezed the entire time. We're going to do a set of 20. 3 sets of 20. Here's our first set. It's going to be 10 each side. So let's begin. Here we go. And pedal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's our first set. We have 2 more sets of that. So let's take 70 seconds and rest before set number 2. All right, here we go for set number 2 of our bicycle crunches. Legs up, scapula off the ground, and we rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's set number 2. We're going to take our 70-second rest, and then we're going to go into our last set. Our last set of bicycle crunches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And we're done. We have finished our core exercises. Now I want you to pop up. Let's catch our breath for a few seconds. Make sure you're maintained. And we're going to go into our next round of seal jacks. So once we catch our breath, remember it's 30 seconds. Have your clock ready. And we're into them. That's 30 seconds. Now we're going to take a 90-second rest before we start our next exercise. Now we're going to move on to our balance and stability exercises. For our first exercise, we're going to do a flamingo stand, which is, if you've ever seen a flamingo stand, they like to stand on one leg. So all you're going to do is, for a modified version, you could get a chair or any surface within arm's reach to help you balance on your one leg. So you have one leg on the ground, you lift your other leg to touch the leg that's standing. You could have your hand holding a surface. If you don't need it, you could have just your hands placed in front of you. And we're gonna hold this stance for a 10 count. And then we're gonna switch legs and do it again. So here we go for our first set of flamingo stands. So, leg on the ground, leg up, and we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We go down. Now we're going to switch legs. You can switch your surface if you need to. Now we have our next leg up, and we set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Gather ourselves. We're going to have about a 30-second rest, and we're going to do another set of that. Here we go, round 2 of our flamingo stance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here we go. The second leg. And remember to keep your chest high and your back straight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Core engaged. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is it for our flamingo stance. We're going to take a 60-second break. We're going to go into our next stability exercise. For now, our next balance and stability exercise, we're going to do a side step. So for a modification, we're going to use a wall. We're going to stand in front of the wall. We're going to have one of our hands on the wall just to hold us stable. And we're just going to take steps sideways, following our hand on the wall, 5 steps to the right, and then back, 5 steps to the left. We're going to complete 2 sets of that. That would be our side step exercise. Here we go for the first set. Hand on wall, and we step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our side step stability exercise. We're going to do another set of that. Now we're going to take about a 30-second rest for our last set of side steps. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, with these, have a slight bend in your knee. You don't want to have your knees locked. Keep your back straight, your chest high, and just slowly slide step by step sideways. So that finishes our side step. Now we're going to go to our next exercise, but for first, we're going to take a 30-second break and then do our last stability and balance exercise. For our last stability and balance exercise, we're going to do what's called a tightrope exercise. So again, we're going to have a hand on our wall just to keep our balance, and all we're going to do is put one foot in front of our next foot and just walk just like that, like you're on a tightrope, using the wall to keep you stable, to help you from falling down. So we're going to do this for a couple sets. It's going to be 10 steps each set. Here's set 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's set 1 of the tightrope exercise. We're going to take a 30-second break. We're going to do and finish our last set. So for the last set of tightrope walks, I'm going to do it without holding the wall. And you could do this as well if you feel comfortable enough. But just in case, keep yourself close enough to the wall that if you do think that you're going to lose balance, you could just lean into the wall's direction and to stop yourself from falling down. So, but we're going to do it without the wall for 10 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's our tightrope exercise. Our stability and balance portion of this exercise is complete. Now we're going to take a 90-second rest before we go into our next exercise. Now we're going into speed and agility. Our first exercise is going to be a wall sprint. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your hands flat on the wall, arms extended, legs slightly behind you, and we're just going to go knee drive up in a sprinting motion. It's going to look something like this. So you're working on knee drive and rebounding that foot off the ground as quickly as possible. We're going to go 3 sets for 20 seconds each set. Here's set number 1. Have your clocks ready, and here we go. That's 20 seconds. Rest 90 seconds, and then we're back for set number 2. Okay, so here we are for our second set of wall sprints. But as a modification, if you feel like you can't move that fast, we could take it in a slower form, kind of half speed, but still getting the benefits of the quick reaction off the ground and the flexion of the hips and the engagement of your lower abdominal. So this is what that would look like. If we're going half speed, we're going here, 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 almost like a bounce instead of a full-on sprint, but you're still working the same concepts. So here's set number 2. That's 20 seconds. That was half speed. Now we're going to rest for 90 seconds and come back and finish our last set of wall sprints. Here we go, last set of our wall sprints. Now again, we're going to go full speed this time. And just remember, you can go half speed if you need to, but this is going to be full speed. So let's get our 20 seconds on the clock. And here we go. It's 20 seconds. Finished our wall sprints. Now we're going to rest 90 seconds before we go into our last speed and agility exercise. So for our next and final speed and agility exercise, we're going to do a figure 8, which I've just decided to put pots in my backyard in a straight line, and that's how we're going to navigate ourselves around to make the 8 shape. You don't necessarily need anything. You could just run in a figure 8. You just need an open enough space to run a few meters in each direction and come back around. But you could use anything around you, whether it be a pot. If you have cones, you could use cones. You could use chairs. You could use anything just as a stopping point, just to navigate yourself if you need it. So we're going to go twice around for our first set, and we're going to have 3 sets of this. So this is a figure 8 run. So that's a figure 8 run. Now we're going to have 2 more sets of that. 90 seconds rest is coming up. Now we're going set number 2 for our figure 8 run. So what you're gonna do is, you're gonna have a starting point. You're gonna run at a slight opposite angle from that starting point. Do a circle, come back on the other angle, do another circle, go straight, come back towards the angle you started at. That's going to ultimately give you that 8 shape. So that's how we do it in real time. And that is how a figure 8 is supposed to be performed. That was set number 2. We have one more set of this figure 8 run. So here's our last set of our figure 8 run. That's our figure 8 run. That concludes our speed and agility exercises. Now we're going to rest for about 90 seconds. Then we're going to do our cool down and really settle ourselves and get a good stretch in. Now for our cool down, the first thing what we're going to do is just slow our heart rate down, really get our breathing regulated. So after a bit of running we just did, now we're just going to walk kind of normal pace. Catch your breathing and just really slow your heart rate down. You can do about 1 minute to 2 minutes of walking until you feel like your breathing is normal, your heart rate is normal, and then we're gonna go into our upper body and lower body stretching. So here's what a regular walk would look after a run. Again, with the lack of space, you kind of just walk around in a small area, a backyard, and just breathe and relax. That was our walk. I feel relaxed, I feel calm. My heart rate is down. My breathing is regulated. Now we're going to go into our stretching. So first, I'm going to start up top. We're going to do a cross body arm stretch just to get our lats, our chest, our triceps, and our shoulders nice and stressed out and elongated. So what we do, go cross body like this. We're holding the opposite arm and we're just pulling. Breathing in deeply. We're holding for about 30 to 60 seconds. Just relaxed, breathing, holding. When we switch arms, same concept. Keep your breathing regulated. Keep your body relaxed. Elongating your muscles. Make sure there's no tightening or stiffness after a long, strenuous workout. We go to our lower body. We start up top and we fall to the ground, hands touching toes. Really feel it in your hamstrings and your calves, really pulling and lengthening them out. Remember, you're breathing, holding about 30 to 60 seconds. Come back up. Deep breath. Now we're going to hit a bit of a quad stretch. Have a surface to really hold yourself up. Go pick up your one leg and just really pull back, stretching this quad and your hips and lengthening them out. Again, breathing 30 to 60 seconds. Now we're going to go opposite. The same stretch. Breathing 30 to 60 seconds. And again, since we did a bit of running, maybe we want to stretch our calves and ankles a little more. Have a surface or be a pole or a wall. Have your arms out in front of you. Do not arch your back. One leg in front, one leg back, and you just lean into that stretch. Stretching out your Achilles, your calves, your hamstring, your glutes, hips, lower back. Switch legs. Just hold and pull. Feel it lengthen. Remember to breathe. Come up. Relax yourself. Loosen yourself up. That concludes this exercise session. Hope it was beneficial. Hope you guys enjoy. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.